Welcome to VPG's Virtual Water Cooler Chat Podcast, a platform that features professionals across a variety of industries and promotes growth mindset principles with a central pillar of championing the achievements of women. Our conversations explore a wide spectrum of backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives, creating a vibrant mosaic that enriches our collective understanding and strengthens our commitment to growth and empowerment. Today, we're speaking with Alyssa Gangaram, an illustrator born and raised in Schenectady, New York. Alyssa began drawing art inspired by her favorite books in elementary school. At 16, murals for local schools were her step into freelance art. Now her work is based in storytelling through illustration, with a focus on colors, light, and shapes. She will graduate this year from the University of Albany with a BFA in Fine and Studio Art and a minor in business. Let's get started.
Good morning, Alyssa. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
Good, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. It's 2025 now.
Thank you so much for being a guest. You're one of the first few Gen Z illustrators, artists that decided to interview in 2025 because I wanted to kind of break things a little bit. And empowering voices is actually across generations, across different people and different industries. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. The feeling is mutual, and I'm so excited to be on this today.
Awesome. So tell us your story.
Well, I'm Alyssa. I'm 20 years old and I'm an illustrator. I grew up in Schenectady, New York. I've always loved art. I've always loved drawing. That's one of the first things I remember doing when I was young. That's a cliche answer. You probably would hear that from a ton of artists. But I've always grown up with art. And I've always grown up with that being like my outlet, kind of. So as I grew up, art grew up with me. And I've just been doing that ever since.
That's amazing. Want to share with our audience how you and I met?
Oh, that's an awesome story.
Kind of actually interested in
Hmm.
how exactly did you hear and was first introduced to VPG?
That happened through a mutual friend. Her name is Michelle. She is so awesome. She's a sweetheart. I was talking to her the other day only. She's a sweetheart. We had the same class together. It was like a 3D design class. We spent all semester together just doing projects. It was so much fun. And then next semester, I'm asking her, what's up? How's life been? And she said she is working with the VPG now. And so from there, she introduced me to the company and everything about about VPG. And then eventually, out of nowhere one day, she said, "Hey, do you have time this afternoon to meet Ashley?" And I said, "Of course." And then from there, we kind of just hit it off, and I got to know about Ashley, and I've got to know about VPG and everything you stand for. And I've just absolutely loved it.
Thank you. That was such an empowering story about having mutual friends looking out for each other. I agree, Michelle is a sweetheart. Not only because we are related,
Yeah.
but I just always think that she's very street smart,
Yes.
very financial savvy, you know.
Yeah.
So
She's
she's
always
also
like one step
looking,
ahead. So,
she's also like looking out for her friends. So that
mhm.
I really appreciate. And
Yes.
in fact, I have the East Coast, I have the New York, and I had the LA crew.
Hmm.
And they're all like looking out for each other. Do you recall our initial meeting?
I think it was Zoom that
It
we
was
did.
definitely Zoom. You're in New
It was
York, I'm
definitely
in
Zoom.
Virginia. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is most memorable about that particular meeting that you wanted to say, okay, I'm in?
That first meeting, I thought it'd be just this very short conversation. I think we were there for about 2 hours or something like that.
Wow,
Or
maybe
almost
an
two
hour,
hours.
maybe.
Yeah, an hour, a little over. I'm not even sure at this point, but it went long. But the time just passed so quickly because you were just showing me like through your website, and I got to know about VPG and like the cool things you were doing because I thought it would just be this one thing, but you had so many different branches of what you were doing. And so that captivated me from the start. Like the creative part, there's the video part, the actual like the litigation law part. Wait, what is it
That's
called?
my bread and butter,
Yes.
PTAP.
Yes. BTAP.
Do you want to share with us your cultural origin?
Both of my parents grew up in South America and they came to New York City, Queens, when they were teenagers. And from then, they strived to do the best they could for their family that the generation before them couldn't because they were given new opportunities. And that's kind of the story I was raised up. That's the role models I was raised up around. And I think because of them, I value that work ethic. And that's just the family I've been grown up around. That's what shaped my cultural values, everything. I come from a culture of hard work and togetherness. I think my culture is all about watching out for one another and uplifting one another and helping one another. That's, I would say, the whole like Guyanese community is just they all watch out for each other, they all watch out for others. And yeah, I think that's what kind of shaped my background.
Asian cultures, a lot of it is very collective too.
Yes,
So generally speaking, one thing that I really do admire is how your generations, at least most of the people that I've encountered, they're really kind of looking out for each other for opportunities. And we're just like having an studio podcasting experience yesterday for two of my younger ones in the Ashburn Chantilly area. And we were just sitting there chatting about the different projects. You're absolutely right. People would think that virtual patent gateway is a PTAB filing. And then they look at it and it's like, what is wrong with this woman? I mean, there's so many things. If you want to talk about dilution, that's completely dilution. But I really just love
yeah,
exploring and getting out of your comfort zone because that's how you grow.
right.
That's the part that I really enjoy being part of my creative journey. And I'm so glad that I'm in the position to bring other people along. So it has been really amazing. Let's talk about your art a little bit. I will tell you the reason why I was impressed. There are a couple of reasons besides the art. One is that as a young woman, I was impressed that you have your own company. You're working as a DBA, that of your own company. And I thought that was really entrepreneurial. So that's one of the reasons. So let's get into the art. Would you like to share screen and talk about maybe one or two pieces of art that you have, and then before we move on?
Course. And I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that and that you are just so willing to take risk and be like a mentor to other generations because that's what we need, that's what we need to progress. That's what we need to grow as a collective, not even just as Gen Z or Gen whatever, just as a collective.
Exactly. I like what you said because it's like overall, yes, we can stereotype and classify people into different generations, but within each generation, we also have a lot of unique lived experiences.
Right.
Let's talk about your Children of Light.
So this is a concept piece that I completed over the past semester with the intent for it to be what a final version of a film might look like. And so Children of Light is a personal project that I just began pursuing maybe around August last year, building the script, building the characters and all of that. And so it's a short film that's in production currently. That's the short version.
What are you trying to convey in this particular piece of art?
This scene particularly, it's this character, his name is Ruel. He's a funny little guy. He's a thief and he's known as that around his town. He's kind of casted out of the town. He's like an outcast. He's a loner. And because of a lot of reasons, he thinks he has to steal to survive. So he goes around town and everybody knows him. Nobody likes him. And he steals from the wrong person one day and ends up at the bottom of a cliff on accident. Oh, we don't know how that happens. We'll find out. And this is like that turning point in the story where he meets something that completely changes his world and finally finds a new friend for the first time. And so this is like that moment before they meet. And I was just trying to set that tone and that atmosphere with the colors, with the shapes, with the moody lighting. And I'm not sure if this is going to be the final look. I'm still, workshopping it, still working on it, but I'm excited about it. And this is what I'm hoping it'll be similar to when we're done.
I don't know if other people have told you when you talk about your art, you have this glow in your face. So,
I can't help it,
that's
but
your
thank
passion,
you.
right?
I can't help it. I'm just so excited about stories, I think. It's always been stories from a young age for me. I would just have journals and I would write my own stories. And then, as I grew up, written stories turn into visual stories, turn into short film. There you go. That's the progression.
Awesome. I mean, that particular creative journey, because you're also a muralist.
Mhm.
And I've seen some of your art on like for like schools. You want to talk about those projects? Because mural is like for walls is like big. How does it actually work for you as an artist?
It's a lot of just technical equipment. The biggest one I did, it was, I don't even know, maybe around 12 to 14 feet high. And I'm around five, maybe 5'2". There's no way I was reaching there even with a ladder. So, we had to go and get a lift, and it was this whole process. But the school district made it so easy. They were just so easy to work with. And I enjoy working with them so much. So it's been really exciting. The only thing that I would not recommend is going that high the whole time, because I was holding the edge of the lift and just trembling trying to paint
Oh,
because I'm
wow.
terrified of heights.
Did you have anyone helping you, or did you do the whole thing by yourself?
I did recruit my siblings to help me prime the wall. I said, get in the car, we're gonna go have some fun. And I made them wear paint clothes without them knowing, really. And then we just showed up and they're like, sure, we'll help.
Did you take them for boba later or coffee?
Yes, I did. We went and got ramen after, so they're
Oh, awesome.
fine. But other
Incentive
than that,
always help.
yes.
Any other piece before I move on?
Sure. So this is just some more work from Children of Light that I've put up publicly so far. There's another character. This is one of the main characters that Ruel would meet in that scene. She's so cute. I love her. I'm fans of them as if they were like people.
Weapon prop design. I love it.
Weapons, yes, weapon
Yes.
prop designs.
Can we go to the one that is like the person that is being sort of like catched by you guys? Can you talk about this one a little bit?
This one's kind of silly, this story. It's kind of like a friends to enemies to rivals to friends again story, and maybe lovers in the future.
Oh God.
That's what I was into at the time. And this story is kind of about rival artists in a big city. Imagine like New York City or Brooklyn or just like a very populated area. And the man in the background, it was her childhood best friend, and they have a rivalry now because of art and because of all these things. And the story is kind of them just learning to become friends, and not only that, but partners in art again, and kind of take one style and a second art style and combine them, like metaphorically and quite literally. So this is the moment where she is about to interview for a really big opportunity, and she's just completely turned away because he got there first, and he's like really impressive, and the company is kind of shady as well. So there's a lot of things going on here. But this is her, she's very hot-headed, this character. Her name is Eve, and she's very hot-headed, so she gets carried away out the door.
But you and I are on a collaborative project.
Yes.
When I initially approached you about that,
Mhm.
how does that differ from some of the other work that I engage or commission for you to do?
For our other projects, it was kind of just a one-on-one, just like single basis, just very quick, very short projects, like the graphics we did. So this one was really interesting because you approached me with a like more long-term idea and a very big. It's nothing that I've ever been approached with before. So I was really excited about it. And you were so passionate about it. I could see the excitement when you're talking about, what the I don't want to tell too much about it, but
We'll promote that
the
later.
raccoons mean to you, and all the symbolism and all the history you have with the Urban Raccoons Company, and everything that you went from that to building a VPG. Like that whole story was so fascinating to me. So that got me really excited to work on this project with you. And then, since then, I think late summer, early fall, we've been working on this illustrated book together. How have you felt about it so far? Are you excited?
I'm excited to finish because,
Yeah.
I'm also, like you said, I have my hands in so many things. So it's really difficult for me to just dedicate time to sit there and start writing a chapter. And then it's like sometimes English is my second language. So I have a lot of self-consciousness, like insecurity about, oh, am I like telling the story right? You tell amazing stories through your art, but up until midway through the collaborating in competitive ecosystem that I did with Michelle Kim, we
Mhm.
literally just go through the Zoom and then constructs the illustration. She's also very talented, but you both have very distinct artistic styles. And in terms of working with each one of you, I think this is the part that I really enjoy the most because most of the time I do not generally work with Gen Zers because I'm in legal, right?
Right.
They might actually come in if I were at a law firm. They at this point they would probably come in as an entry-level legal assistant. Very different skill sets that I am working with when I can call the shots at VPG. I can hire you guys. It's very empowering.
That's awesome. That
Isn't
is
it
really
great?
fun.
And for you, I have to give a couple of public kudos about why I like working with you. You are very deadline oriented, very professional. That's awesome. And I'm still in touch with Michelle, and she still does some work with me periodically. I'm very, very proud of all of you guys. Like I told Sid
Thank you.
and Jaslyn yesterday, I said,
Mhm.
eventually, I know that you all will fly the coops because that's where you guys would go. But you will all become an alumni,
Right. PG
So
alumni.
yeah, and then I have a bigger class of alumni than actual existing people working with me. That's fine.
That just means you've trained them up, you've worked with them, and then you've sent them on their way, and they've grown from that, you know? So if you have a bigger alumni than people you're working with, right?
I never really thought about it that way, but I really thought that this might be influenced by my professor. My
Mm,
late professor. One of the things that I think I want to talk about is that I invest a lot of time in talking to my group. And I think that it has to do with the mindset, scarcity versus abundance. And I think my professor was very abundant. He was a Harvard Law graduate. He worked in private law for maybe 5 or 10 years, something like that. But then he decided that he really wanted to be a professor and he didn't want to teach at law school. So he taught international business law at School of Business. So he was very abundant, really well liked. He's like a scholar. And one of his biggest hobbies is he loves singing. So he's in different choirs. And so in Massachusetts, there's something called the Berkshire Choral Festival, and he would drive to go there like in the summer and do
wow.
that. Amazing professor. He actually invested a lot in terms of time and even money because he gave me his own scholarship and he asked me to house sit his place while he was a visiting scholar at Saratoga Springs. This is where I was University of Kansas. So I only had to pay utility when I was doing my master program. People generally don't do that,
Yeah, that's
right?
awesome. That is really cool. And honestly, I see that in how you operate right now as a leader and just collaborating with anyone from, Gen Zers to probably even, if you treat me one way, I know that's the kind of person you are, you know? And I see that the way that your mentor and the professor treated you, that's what you're giving back to other people as well. So it feels like a very full circle in a way. And
Well,
then
there's actually more than one person that did that with me.
yeah.
I had another Japanese American woman. She's in the academic circle because of her husband. Her husband even had like a building named after him. He's like had patents and he was like a professor in pharmaceutical, I believe. My parents used to own a Chinese restaurant.
Mm,
So again, how are people offering me money? And I
yeah.
didn't ask for it. This is after I left and started my own work, but I didn't really like what I was doing.
Mm,
And I didn't know how to advance out of that particular circle. And
right.
I knew that in order to grow, I need to invest in myself. But, I was young and my parents are not particularly well off. And she just sort of like listened to me. And then every once in a while, after graduation, I would still go back and visit her. At some point, she said to me, I think that it's time for you to exit this particular circle.
Mhm.
I said, well, yeah, but I don't know how. And she goes, like, well, do you have any idea of what you need to do? I said, I think I need to get a paralegal certificate because the people in that particular circle said that my master's degree was irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, I spent all of this time to be irrelevant.
Oh no.
So that was very candid. And she goes, why don't you go and look into some programs that you could actually join? I said, yeah, I found something. I think I'm going to go to GW, the evening program. And then she told me, how much is the tuition? I was like, I don't know. I think I can make it. And without hesitation, she sent me a check.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
not for the entire thing,
Yeah.
but it's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
And I called her and I said, I cannot accept your gift because I'm not related to you.
Yeah. Right.
I cannot accept this. I mean, sometimes when people believe in you this much, you kind
Right.
of don't know what to do with it because what if I fail?
Yeah, it's a little
And
bit of pressure, right?
not a little bit, a lot of
A lot.
pressure. Yeah, not a little bit. And eventually she was like, well, that's what I wanted to do. I suggest that you go ahead and take it and just do well. And that's all I need.
That's awesome. Wow.
So I think toward the end, she was, you can tell that she was sort of fading. And she's in Kansas, I'm in Virginia.
Hmm.
One of the things that I always fear is like, how do I find out when someone is passing?
Mm.
So I asked her one day, would I be notified if something were to ever happen to you? Because I would really like to at least make it to your funeral and say thank you to your family. She was like, it will be a private event, so
Mhm.
you will not be invited. I said,
Oh.
thank you, but you will be notified. And you know how I was notified?
How?
I got a letter from her attorney
Oh,
because she left me a small inheritance with a note. So that was really powerful.
that is wow.
Yeah.
That
So,
is like that's a type of story that will stay with you forever and the kind of person that will stay with you forever.
well, I think that now that I'm kind of, you can kind of see between Clyde and Aya, I think I wasn't previously in a position to do what I wanted to do with the Ashley brand
Mm.
because I have organizational structure, I have other people, and basically I cannot be doing what I really want and the way that I want it, right? So now I'm really happy because I'm into 5 years and I can actually sit here and chat with you
Yeah.
all and hear about this stuff and passing on some of the lived experiences. I don't always say yes to all of you.
Hmm.
I would used to because I wouldn't want people to dislike me.
Yeah.
But you guys also had some discussion from time to time and with other people too. But
Right.
every once in a while, I would be totally like, no.
It's good to know when to say no, though, right?
Yes, and that actually I think is a VPG journey. So I thought that you have a pretty good boundary, but you also stay pretty respectful. Now, if you were to make a mistake, would you like to be actually notified? And if yes, how would you like that feedback to be given to you?
For me, I would say I definitely would want to get that feedback. Probably just personally, one on one. I think if anyone wanted to chat, like email or, hey, can I give you a call or can we chat? Depending on, the situation, if we're in person or not. And I would like them to let me know how they felt and what I did that could be worked on, things like that. And I would take that into account and take their feelings into account too. And try to learn from that and see what I can do to not make that same mistake a second time because that's the only way we can grow. I think if we shut off feedback completely, then that's just cutting yourself off from growing and cutting yourself off from the people around you as well.
Great answer. I'm going to turn this a little bit. Sometimes feedback is based on whoever that gives it.
Hmm.
They may not always be fair.
Right.
And in those instances, if you feel strongly about something being unfair, how would you handle that?
In those cases, it takes a little bit of discernment. I would say you know the person, you know the character, and in conversation, you might be able to tell you where they're coming from or what the feedback is coming from a place of maybe if it's anger, if it's coming from a place of actually like trying to get their emotions across. It really is a case by case basis. But at that point, I would just be respectful with the rest of the conversation. I don't want to start argue. I'm not an argumentative person. And then I would just go on my day, knowing when to let things slide off and when to really take things into account and change based on those. Because if you take too much into account, you're just pulling yourself and trying to meet unrealistic expectations if you want to be everything for everyone around you.
I love the word discernment. Is it often in your vocabulary to use the word discernment?
I think so, here and there.
There's been a lot of media about Gen Z employee facing challenges
Mhm.
with early career expectations and sometimes being let go as soon as they are onboarded because they want
Yeah.
to do what they want to do. What are your thoughts on the need for ethical leadership for the upcoming generation? And how can we, the people that are currently in position of empowerment, help your generation? You can talk about individually because I don't want you to speak for the entire generation. That's way
It's a
too
little too
much.
big, maybe.
I do instill like the leadership principle for you all
Mhm,
to balance between doing what you love to do, but
mhm.
also doing what a business wants you to do. The pendulum cannot just swing like too far one way over the other. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're talking about, the pendulum. It has to be a balance for sure. For in terms of leadership, I think the examples we honestly just spoke about are really great examples of leaders who want to build the next generation. And I think that's ethical leadership. I think it boils down to the intent should be you're trying to make leaders. It's leaders who make leaders, and whatever that means, and whether it's a company or if it's like in schools or whatever, it's doing the best for the younger generation, and also it's us, the younger generation, doing their part to be respectful, to have open arms to whatever conversations that the older generation want to talk about, and having mutual respect and professionalism on both ends in the workplace, especially. I think that ethical leadership also needs people who are willing to learn, I would say. So it's both sides. It's not just on the leaders, and it's not just on the students or the people under leadership.
It's hard to implement though. There's a lot of fear
Hmm.
on both ends, I think. People in leadership, maybe they would worry about some of them. I cannot speak for all the leaders because I'm only me. So sometimes I would, for example, be very fearful as to what if I like say the wrong thing?
Mm.
Words matter. You have to choose your word very carefully, and because they have impact, it's impactable. It creates so much meaning, and it also create lasting impressions.
Hmm.
And if you're not handling this carefully, but candidly, I think we need to be
Yes.
honest with each other. If there's mistakes, I mean, everybody make mistakes. I've made tons of mistakes in my life. I like to think that, especially in the past few years, as an entrepreneur, a startup founder, oh my God, you have no idea. There are things that I was like, if I put it together event, how do I get people to go? And I would have technical miscalculations when you actually start collaborating with other people and start having honest conversation
Hmm.
instead of like, oh, I have
True.
this particular event, I cannot get the people, but I'm just going to keep pushing through it. But if
Mhm.
you involve all the stakeholders, regardless of the generation, I think that's when you can actually come up with an honest strategy
Yes, I
instead
agree.
of like saving face. Saving face was really, really important to me before. I have had a couple of people that said I would prefer to have a one-on-one discussion. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, for me too, but I've actually had leaders that basically say something that is completely unfair to me in front of a group. So I understand about the one-on-one. I think praise has to be done in front of people. Critique should be ideally done one-on-one,
I agree 100% with that.
preferably in person, and also Zoom does not make it's a different dynamic. So
One-on-one person is always the way to go if we can, honestly. But yeah, I agree with you.
so balancing school and pursuing your dreams can be pretty challenging. What advice would you give your peers and maybe like even your sibling? What would be the advice that you give to others about how you actually maintain the balance while staying true to your ambition?
It is a balance, and it's a balance of practicing discipline and practicing rest. Because sometimes if we rest too much, then we fall behind on our goals and we lose sight of our ambitions and what we're doing, why we're doing things for the reasons and everything. And we start slipping up. And then that can be very demotivating and very easy to give up. And if we be too disciplined and be too focused on every single minute working and working, working, which I'm working on that, I think. I think we're both working on that, working too
I
much,
think
you
we're
know?
kind of working too much.
I think, yeah, you need to take care of yourself to be able to take care of your dreams and take care of others and your family and everything. So I think it's a balance of both and learning how to rest and learning how to be disciplined, to work when it's time to work and to rest when it's time to rest. And resting in a way that'll actually calm you down and rebuild yourself, whether it be like with hobbies or with family, with friends, and completely separate work from personal life.
Yes, you cannot fill others' cup when your cup is only half full.
Exactly. That's the perfect way to describe that.
Well, I didn't come up with that. Oprah Winfrey did.
Yes.
So, what is one advice that you have for other young artists?
I would say for other young artists, first of all, be realistic with yourself, have realistic schedules, and just dream big. Realistic goals, realistic schedules, but big dreams. And with that, always put yourself out there. Always seek to make friends. Oh, exactly. Always seek to just make friends first before anything because I feel like nowadays networking is pushed so much, but that's such like a technical term for me. I think we're out here, we're just trying to make friends. We're making connections based on our mutual interests and things that excite each other. Just find artists that love what you love and even ones who don't, so you can have multiple perspectives and get to know them and get to know the people around them. And I would say the biggest thing is always say yes and don't let fear hold you back. As long as it's a project and an opportunity that align with your goals and that will help you and you think it's going to be an awesome opportunity, don't say no to it out of fear. If there are other reasons, then that's, based on whatever the opportunity is. But at the end of the day, you can't be the one holding yourself back. If everyone around you, especially, is believing in you, don't not believe in yourself and don't not put yourself out there and just keep saying yes. I think that's what started my journey. Just saying yes when I didn't know how to do the work they wanted me to do, which was a little bit of a risk for them, but I was also 16 and they believed in me. So it's just saying yes and doing the best you can.
If I may, maybe
Mhm.
I could qualify from my perspective.
Yeah.
Don't say no because of your fear,
Mhm.
but don't say yes because you're trying to people please others.
Exactly.
Because there are circumstances, even your schedule is full, don't say yes, can you have to work like overnight, you
Right.
know?
And that would go back to that what we were talking about having rest and also having discipline. Knowing what fits with you and knowing what works and knowing what you can take on, but not letting fear stop you along the way too.
Yeah, and also sometimes some projects are just not in alignment with your brand.
Hmm.
And some people are just not in alignment with your brand either.
Hmm.
So I think that there's a lot of discussion with people about like toxicity.
Hmm.
And I think that I'm learning a lot more about don't say yes just because I'm fear. Like, for example, if I say yes to a case, I have to follow through the entire thing and make sure that things are like done. Like I have had several big firms that asked me if I wanted to coach their people. And for the longest time, I have not done that because I think part of it is like my fear.
Hmm.
I know what I'm doing. So if I'm like just doing the stuff is good, but teaching other people is another thing.
Yeah, it's a different type of responsibility when you're leading and teaching others, I think.
But that's how you grow. So
That's
I think I said no for the longest time because I didn't believe in myself to carry out that particular responsibility, or I didn't think that I was a good speaker. I have a lot of things, overcoming those limiting beliefs. And I just have to say that it was so awesome because I just taught like some classes on PTAP. And
mm,
I got a really nice thank you note from their paralegal manager for like some people and basically said that thank you so much for training my team.
mhm.
That just makes you feel good, you
Yeah.
know?
You should take that as encouragement then. If you do like teaching others and mentoring others is something you want to pursue, that's really good encouragement to do that.
Yeah, I totally would do that. I will take that advice from you.
You're
Um,
completely more than capable of that. We've been only been working together maybe a year or so at this point, less than a year. I see it. 100% I see it.
what do you see?
I see that leadership quality in you for everything you do, and you do it with wisdom, and you do it
Oh,
with
wow.
others in mind and with the company's best interest in mind, but you do it with the growth in mind for yourself, for the company, and for the person you're working with. So I appreciate that, and I absolutely love that quality in you. I think that's what sets you apart from people I've worked with in the past, because of the way you operate and the way people around you operate too.
Now that you understand with the two examples, it's basically a shout out to them. Both of them had passed.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a mentor that is really amazing. And when we had lunch, he's sitting there. I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask you the question. I was like, can I ask you a question? No, I asked you first. You need to finish this stuff. He's a lawyer, and I try to get him to podcast because I absolutely not. I was like, but your son accepted my interview. It's like,
Oh
nope.
no.
I said, I will keep trying to work on you. And
Mhm.
then he lives really nearby anyway. So I was like, I'm gonna do it in studio podcast with you. He was like, absolutely not.
Keep asking. Keep
Keep
asking.
asking, yeah.
Just keep asking.
Eventually he will be so annoyed with me that he will say yes.
Yeah. He's gonna have to. You're not gonna stop asking, so.
I did actually tell him I'm gonna keep trying, and
Mhm.
maybe one day I'll break you at a time that you just cannot stand me asking anymore.
I love that. The perfect strategy.
Perfect strategy.
Perfect
Be
strategy.
so annoying that people
Just be
cannot
annoying
say
until they
no.
have to do it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Alyssa. I'm just so honored to be able to work with you. Can't wait until our book comes out.
Yes, so
Yes.
excited. I'm so excited too. I can't wait.
Definitely a shout out to Michelle Wu for, introducing and connecting the both of us together.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.